What made you laugh the hardest in your entire life? Back in the mid-90s, when I was a 15-something teenager, my cousins and I had the house to ourselves, so one decides to put a porno in the VCR. I warned him that my dad was coming home soon, and that he might want to think twice, but he didn't heed my warning. We kept watching the front door, so we'd be ready to eject the tape and not get caught. Lo and behold, my dad just happened to come through the side door in the garage that day and was suddenly standing there behind us. Myself and one of my cousins bolted out of the room when we noticed him. The third cousin wasn't so lucky. He noticed us running off and, with my dad right behind him, shouted after us, "Hey, where you guys going? Don't ya want to jerk your wieners?" At that point I lost all feelings in my legs as I fell to the floor in laughter. I could still see my cousin through the hallway as he was slowly turning around and noticing my dad behind him, at which point he jumped back around, frantically trying to figure out how to turn off the VCR, but to no avail. It was one of those really old VCRs where stop and eject weren't on the front of the unit. He finally just dropped to his knees and tried hugging the TV to block the picture, crying that he was sorry. I turned so red from laughter that it felt like I was running a fever. I had difficulty breathing for the rest of the day and my ribs felt like they'd been shattered. My poor cousin though, he not only got caught watching porn in hilarious fashion, but he also got teased for years about whether or not he was serious about his proposal to jerk our wieners in the same room together. Edit, my first gold and silver. Thank you, kind strangers. Also my highest rated comment. I'm so glad I brought everyone a good laugh this day, especially those thinking my dad was the one who made the jerking our wieners comment, which would have been extra hilarious and extremely out of character for him. I'm sorry I can't keep up with the responses, but your laughs have put a big smile on my face today. I'm off to bed now. To sleep. Yeah, sleep dusts off VCR. During the peak of those what in tarnation memes, my college buddies and I road tripped from Michigan to No for Mardi Gras during our spring break. About 10 hours in, when we were already feeling really goofy / bored from the long trip, a tire rolled across the highway in front of the car. My friend, while the tire is still crossing our path, screams what in tarnation, and that stupid ass joke is the hardest I've ever laughed. It was in summer this year actually. There was a middle-aged couple walking in front of me with ice creams. The guy obviously didn't see the step ledge on the floor coming up and tripped over it. As he tripped over, his flailing arm shoved the ice cream right onto an oncoming child's forehead. The ice cream cone stayed in place for a couple of seconds before it slid off. The kid looked like a freaking unicorn. I was literally crying with laughter, and it was so hard to compose myself. You had to be there, but OMG, the funniest scene of events ever. Standing on the sidewalk next to one of those metal electrical boxes, my little sister is standing between me and the box, facing me. She shouts "tag you're it," and spins around to run away at a full sprint. She slams into the box just like Wally Coyote running into a wall. I have never laughed so hard in my life. The people passing by afterward just saw a 6-year-old crying next to an adult laughing her ass off uncontrollably on the ground. Eventually I composed myself and picked her up and told her she'll be alright. I felt so bad, but damn if I wasn't suppressing giggles the whole way home. I have a Ukrainian coworker who is several decades older than me and is a super serious, pretty strange guy. He has a very stereotypical old school Soviet style to him. He always speaks and identifies as Russian. He heard my friend and I telling trivial amusing stories to each other on a break and joined our little circle with the biggest smile on his face, looking to join in and relate. He explains that when he was in university he had a car, but his friends destroyed his car by literally bludgeoning it to pieces and then beat him viciously as a prank. You know, as friends do. Then he could barely get through the next part of the story. He was laughing so hard when he explained that from then on he had to run to and from university. He said he ran so often with his bag that he ended up separating his abdominal muscles and severely injuring himself. By this point my friend and I are dying from laughter too, so our comrade feels great about his smash hit of a story and heads back to his desk. I still won't go in a room alone with that guy. At a party someone started a riding lawnmower up, turned the steering wheel to the left, and put it in high gear, so it ran around in circles. It was funny at first, but got annoying after a while, so we tried to shut it off. The problem is it was moving pretty fast, and we were all too drunk to catch it. Every time one of us would try to grab it and hop on, we would miss, fall over, and get ran over by the lawnmower. It got so funny watching everyone try that we couldn't stop laughing. We eventually started throwing rocks at it, which was even funnier trying to see drunk people try and aim a rock at a moving object. This went on for a good hour before it ran out of gas. My friend is from Japan. One time, she was trying to say I was sitting on the bed, and instead she said, I pooped the bed. I knew what she had meant to say, but I started laughing uncontrollably, something that was not helped by her yelling, no 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 no, upon realizing she had royally fricked up that sentence. My mom had a Japanese coworker who would always come over and bring us snacks. This one time she brought us these sweet apples, and she was trying to suggest we eat them with penis butter. Kyoko, you mean peanut butter? Yes, penis butter. I had to leave the room. My 12-year-old self did not have the maturity to handle her accent, but neither did my 45-year-old dad. The moment I read, I also choose this guy's dead wife from a thread a few years back. You can have sex with one real person from all of human history, who is your ultimate lay. I'd like to have sex one more time with my wife who passed away from cancer 9 years ago. My body yearns for hers. The ultimate downside to finding the one is she may die young and leave you wanting. I also choose this guy's dead wife. This school near my house had closed down, so me and my 4 brothers went there pretty frequently one summer and essentially made it our personal playground. One day we were there playing basketball, riding our skateboards and whatnot when a cop drives past the school and sees us messing around in there. Obviously we weren't supposed to be there and we got spooked, so we bailed and went to hop the fence and run home. All my brothers can manage the fence well, and we are throwing our bikes over and trying to get the hell out of there before the cop turns the corner. He probably would have just told us to go home, but we were young and worried. As I turn to grab one of the bikes, I look over at my youngest brother, who was probably around 6 or 7 at the time, got himself caught on the fence as he was coming down. He managed to give himself the most ultimate wedgie I've ever seen. He wasn't holding himself up on anything, but he was suspended up in the air hanging by his underwear. All of us just stopped trying to rush home and started howling with laughter to the point where we could hardly help my screaming brother down from his wedgie. I still remember seeing his ass cheeks hanging out from his wedgie as he was crying, begging for help. Probably my favorite childhood memory. Edit. I told my brother who got the wedgie to guess what I wrote as the story. That made me laugh the hardest, and he guessed it on his first try. Thanks for telling me all your wedgie escapades as well. It's still this story, and I hope it makes you laugh too. We could all use more of that. My son was 4. I told him to get dressed one morning. He ran away to his room, comes back like a half hour later, and he's wearing about 20 t-shirts all on top of each other, so his upper body looks huge, and then has a pair of shorts on. I tried not to laugh. Then he says, "Daddy, I put on my clothes and I have underwear on." And he had this sly grin. Obviously, he didn't have any on, and I don't know what the top part was about, so I said, "And how many shirts do you have on, buddy?" "Just one." So we played for a while and finally he said he needed to go to the washroom. He walks out of the room. So I walk into the hallway, and it turns out he didn't close the door. He's got his pants around his ankles and he's peeing, standing up, which surprised me, but I noticed no underwear too. Plus his upper body looked huge. He was pretty funny to see. So I said, "Dude, you gotta close the door, especially since I saw you were lying about wearing underwear." He said, "No daddy, I'm wearing underwear, you just can't see them." So I said, "Sure you are," and closed the door for him. He comes back into the living room and proceeds to take off layer after layer of shirt, piling them on the floor. I was pretty much not sure what the hell he was up to, but he seemed to be having fun. Anyways, he puts like 20 or 25 shirts down and finally pulls off the second last one, and a freaking pair of underwear fall out and on the floor, and he points at them and says, "See daddy, I was wearing underwear." I was dumbfounded. He still lied about having only one shirt on though. In college, my roommates and I had a fun ritual for putting away our groceries after shopping. There were so many of them, we had to find a fun way to do it. I posted myself with all the bags in the dining room and the other 4 posted in the kitchen. Then, I'd just start throwing the stuff at them. Pretty quick, I might add. It didn't matter if it was glass, milk jugs, soda, it got thrown. And they always caught it. Until one day I threw a gallon of orange juice. They all thought someone else had it, and it ended up exploding all over the kitchen. A gallon of anything is a lot when it's suddenly all over the floor. We all started laughing while trying to clean it up, tears and everything. But then one of my roommates looked at all of us and said it's a good thing it wasn't milk, otherwise this world been another catastrophe. At that, we all broke down laughing on the ground in the orange juice. It was just too perfect. Our abs and faces hurt so much from all the laughing. In conclusion, I miss my roommates. Freaking Kevin's scene in The Office when he drops the chili. Comedy gold. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more future content.